That was new.
Yeah, it
I've
was.
never seen that
This
before.
meeting is being recorded.
I had to click a little box that said like continue. So
Weird.
wow.
All right, cool.
Appreciate Zoom's focus on consent.
Yeah, Zoom's constantly updating. All right. Hello, my name is Dan. My pronouns are he, him. I am writing for the Gauntlet Star Trek Adventures Express. This is a hacked version of Star Trek Adventures to make the rules a little bit more streamlined. We are on our last episode, and I'll have the players introduce themselves. We'll talk about safety tools, and then we'll do player intros or character intros. So just quick player introductions right now. Michael, why don't we start with you?
Hi, I'm Michael. My pronouns are he, him.
Thanks. Danielle?
Danielle, and my pronouns are she, her.
Andrew?
Yes, Mander, he, him.
Fantastic. And Matthew?
I'm Matthew, and I go by he, him pronouns.
Fantastic. All right, so just a quick rundown of safety tools. We're using 3 in this game. We established these in our very first session. Open table, you can walk away anytime. X card, you can click X card in our roller, or you can hold your hands up, or you can just say X card. We will stop, we will rewind, and we will do the scene again. And then lines and veils, these are Ian, our character keeper. We have marked off topics that we want completely excluded from our game, or we can mention them, but we don't want them elaborated on. So I urge you all to revisit those, make sure that they reflect everything you want. It looks like everyone's in the character keeper. I will share the link just in case. Cool. Safety tools. Any questions about any of those? All righty. And Michael, why don't you introduce us to Ray? Tell us a little bit about her.
Oops, I was muted. Yeah, I'll be playing as Ray Neris, who is she, her. She is a Bajoran and is the chief of security for our ship.
Something sort of interesting happened to her kind of towards the end of last episode. You recall what interesting thing we discussed?
Do you mean the part where I was a really terrible medic, or after that?
That was not on my mind, but thank you for the reminder. You got word that a contact of yours was going to board the Interceptor, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I thought you were referring to the terminal I was using losing power.
There was that too.
A lot of weird things.
Yeah. Did you think at all about your friend from the military? And
a little bit. Yeah. I did not remember to get a name, but I will do that now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Michael. Danielle, tell us about Darid.
Yes, so Darid Ita is the our Betazoid communications officer whose specialty is linguistics, and has gotten to decode the language of telepathic snails last time, which was a big deal, which was great. And he is professionally very proud of that, while also wishing they could have spent more time to also learn about the other communication on the planet. He's primarily empathic, but also has some telepathy, and has a Vulcan background where he grew up. But has been traveling on the Interceptor for a while.
I meant to ask Ray, but I'll ask Darid now, and I'll come back to you, Ray. Is there, since this is our last episode, is there anything in particular Darid needs to do? Anything you want to see Darid do? Anything in particular you would like to try in this game?
It would be cool to interact with the captain a little bit, I think, since she's a Vulcan as well, or if that comes up at all, like any of the like cross-cultural things. Yeah, otherwise no. I am learning the stats. The system has been really fun to learn, and I put a whole bunch in command, and I haven't done any command anything, and I was like, oh, I should have put them all in science, because I just didn't quite fully plug in about all of the rolling, which has been fine. But like maybe he'll have to like say something forcefully once uncharacteristically.
That sounds great.
That's yeah.
Okay, cool. Mander, can you introduce us to Rundali?
Sure, Rundali Landier. She, her is the executive officer. She's a betazoid. She has comes from a merchant background and is someone who feels that the Federation should be more hands-on in terms of helping and other races rather than being more prone to sit back and watch, even if bad things are happening, it could prevent.
Nice. And is there anything you would like to see with Rundali in this last episode?
No, I've emailed you a suggestion about how the plot might go, and I think that's as much sort of shaping I want to do.
Okay. Do you want to bring that up now, just so we can all play with it?
Well, I don't know. I had an idea for how the plot might go, and I thought it might be more fun not to bring it up, so it'd be more surprising to everyone else, and also to me for whatever parts Dan doesn't use or just riffs off of or ignores.
All right. But it does involve the sample that you gathered. We can leave it at that.
Sure.
All right. And Matthew, tell us about Victus.
Yeah, hi. Today I'm playing Victus Sidonis, the curmudgeonly and firm-jawed helmsman and tactical officer aboard the USS Interceptor. And I foresee that you're probably going to ask me a similar question as you posed to Dan and to Danielle and Mander. Yeah. So what do I want to see, or what things do we like to happen for Sidonis? I think anything with that forces Sidonis into action, whether to grab things by the reins in the midst of chaos and get stuff done, or be pressed against a difficult choice that will require a lot of sacrifice or not. Basically, like I said, let's turn that dial up to 11 and
All right.
see if Sidonis is as badass as people seem to think he is.
Love it. And just come back to Ray. Ray, what would you like? What needs to happen to Ray in this episode?
I'm pretty flexible. I would definitely like to get into combat with something, because we haven't had any, and that would be fun. But
we tried shooting at a snail, and then the snail was like, dude.
Then we just adopted it instead.
Very Star Trek-y, but very unsatisfying for combat.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, everything has felt very Star Trek. So I'm not bothered if we don't get into combat, because I feel like we've been focusing on the stuff that does matter and does make it such a like special kind of franchise.
Okay, nice.
Michael, I have a suggestion. Michael.
Sure.
Would you like to perform surgery on a torpedo?
Maybe.
Deep cut there.
Well, we can see how it goes. It'd be fun to just, a second episode in, just blow up the ship.
Right.
I did also come up with a name for my Bajoran comrade.
Okay, cool.
Who is Weeva LaSalle.
Oh, can you put that in the chat?
I did. I'm just calling it out in case you didn't see it.
We have already managed to bury it slightly in the chat.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we use chat quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, I noticed after the fact. All right. Let's see what we can do. All right, with Weeva. This we should do previously on. I'll start with Danielle this time. Danielle, what do you remember from last time? One thing you remember from last time.
I think we see a shot of Darred riding on the snail as they're going to where they are going, and he's just kind of like, his facial expressions are just like, oh, okay. Like not talking to anybody, nobody can hear anything, but he's clearly like making faces to nothing, as if he's having a deep conversation with this snail. And then also when everything kind of started to go scrambled in the holodeck, and the monkey sort of hopped, the monkey in the hot springs of Japan simulation hopped up and started asking him questions like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? In a total break of the holodeck program.
I completely forgot about that. That was,
yeah.
Thank you for the reminder. That was great.
No problem.
Mander, anything else you want to add to our previously on?
Sure. I think the camera kind of faded out last time on the our guest star. The actor also plays, I think, James Bond or Captain America. I forget which.
Neither of those things, but both of those would be awesome. Yes.
So our bartender being possessed by this alien energy space creature, and its eyes glowing orange, and then coming back and beginning to communicate with us. Again, asking existential questions about why do you form these, things called federations and combat each other, these countries and whatnot.
That's right. Thank you for that reminder. See, this is what I ask. Matthew, anything to add to our previously on?
I think Mander covered it actually, since that was the detail that we worked with last session.
And Michael, is there anything you want to
add? Did we already cover the I might have missed it, the being that came back to the ship with us?
Well, those are sort of these energy forms.
Right.
Yes, that was
okay.
But maybe we see a shot of the shuttle. Right. It came on in the shuttle.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe we see a shot of it kind of releasing itself from the shuttle. It had gotten stuck in the nacelles. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then my addition is the montage where I'm really bad at healing wounded people.
Are you facing consequences for that? I guess you were just trying to heal some Romulans. So
yeah, I mean, not really. We still got them out of there. They were probably more upset about the spy than the fact that we were late and vaguely inept.
The captain had called you all to the bridge. I believe there were a number of systems failing because of these weird energy surges. The captain, recall her name is Captain Tamal. She's a Vulcan. She turns immediately to Randali and says, report. What do you say?
Successful mission. We have gotten our spy back safely and extricated and given a cover story as to why the spy is able to join the Federation. And we have gotten the data crystal, some sample of some of the organic matter from the planet, and the away team performed admirably.
That's excellent.
And I want to be reading the Vulcan's mind. Oh wait, is that intrusive?
I think it's generally not good form to read your captain's mind.
All right. Keep it on the primitive monkey mouth level.
I mean, I'm I mean, we can try it. But I think I would make you roll for it because she is sort of resistant to it.
I'm seeing in the chat treason, insubordination. I counter with curiosity. Let's go for it.
All right. So apparently we need dice in this game. I forgot about that.
Bowling? What?
Ander posted the dice roller.
Oops, sorry, that's the wrong thing to have posted. There, I just sent the link again on chat.
All right. Well, I mean, I think this is insight
Mm-hmm.
and I think command.
Okay.
I'm gonna say because she's a Vulcan and is somewhat telepathic herself. And she's unwilling because she's the captain. I'm gonna say you're gonna need 3 successes for this sucker.
So I can how and normally I have to roll just 2 dice. Is that right?
Right. You can spend momentum. You all have 3 momentum.
I don't want to do that. I'm just, as a player, I want to see on screen what the heck reading a Vulcan's mind is like. That's my honest motivation here.
Well, what we'll do is, regardless, it'll
Mhm.
happen. It just may happen with greater or lesser cost and consequences. So
It's okay. Get some Betazoid Vulcan tension going. Maybe there's
sure,
maybe
let's do
there's
it.
a
Just
vein of distrust that
just roll
Sure.
2 ones.
Awesome. So I don't want to spend momentum because this is totally selfish. So
you should totally spend momentum. It's the
yeah.
last
I
episode.
don't
What
think we've
else you gonna
spent
do?
any.
Yeah.
Do you guys want me to?
Go for it.
Give a thumbs up if you want me to. Thumbs up. Okay, and 1 momentum.
All right, so that's 3 die, 3d20 you can roll.
Sure. I didn't. Oh, I should have done custom dice form. I'm just gonna hit a 2d20 plus 1d20.
Okay, so that was a 20 and a
No, I think that, I don't know what that other 20 was.
But that was from last time. I
Oh,
rolled a
okay.
6, a 7. I guess the plus 0 is a modifier.
Is that a
Yeah, yeah.
17?
Yeah, I think it's 6, 17, and a 5.
So with your insight and your command, that's a 15, which is not quite enough. So
Dun dun dun.
mark a value and re-roll one of those dice if you like.
Mark a value.
Think and talk before acting. It's not that value, that's for sure.
Say again?
You have think and talk before acting.
Yeah, no, not that one.
Definitely seems ends justify the means if you have a good enough
Yes.
reason.
Or rules are just guidelines, since
Right.
I
this is
think rules are just
definitely-
guidelines. I'll mark that one.
So I imagine you're just rolling 1d20 now.
So are you asking me to roll a 1d20?
Yeah, you're basically
Okay.
re-rolling the 17. So
Okay.
let's try and get, there you go. So that is 3 successes. What does this look like? Like, what do you have to do to read an unwilling person's mind?
I think my character kind of anticipates, like, this is a standard question that she gets asked after every away mission. So she knew that question was coming. So she prepared her answer kind of by rote, almost like kind of rehearsed it, so that she was sort of being while she was distracting talking, she was actually focusing on reading the captain's mind. And I guess in order to make it, since more interesting, I think I'll mention that in my report that we encountered a sentient snail-like creature, that it wasn't a breach of first contact protocol because it had already encountered Romulans. And basically I want to like kind of ping those sort of touchy, important things like first contact and almost breaking it, and especially kind of peer into the thoughts, especially during that phrase.
Okay. I think I love that. I think on screen we end up seeing kind of a visual representation of you wandering through her mind, as if now we're sort of seeing you. Maybe it's kind of misty. And
oh, that's what you meant by like on screen. I'm sorry, I messed
yeah,
up.
like the viewer of of our TV show.
Maybe a Vulcan. I mean, it's, you know, I have an idea, but I kind of want you to make it up, so I'm surprised. So keep going.
No, you tell me, what is your idea?
Oh, I'm imagining a Vulcan mind maybe has a lot more, instead of mist, I imagine it being much more like crystals and shards and sharp edges,
Okay.
and maybe even some like flickers of light that's reminiscent of Vulcan itself, and that there are perhaps even formations that turn and twist like spiky balls, like that are basically like three-dimensional gears that rotate around each other, and all the little spokes fit into each other perfectly, kind of representing the logic of the mind.
Yeah, that's great. And by touching different facets, you understand that you would have access to different thoughts and memories and things like that. And as is there sort of one area that you are drawn to, or something in particular that you are looking for?
I think my character would be most interested in knowing the captain's perceptions, and if it came down to it, best way to influence the captain, if it came down to needing to not bend the rules, but interpret the rules to allow for bending the rules when it comes to things like breaking the Prime Directive.
Okay. I think that maybe the captain acknowledges, like you get the feeling, or maybe you are you come upon a memory of the captain as a junior officer, and maybe she was in a situation where she had to where she sort of called into question her conviction about the Prime Directive. I don't have any idea what that might be, but like you, she sort of experienced this moment where she was confronted with this conflict, and her superior officer suggested to look at the problem differently by relaxing some of the constraints. And so maybe she sort of sees it as, how do I solve a problem by relaxing different constraints? Does that sound okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that sounds great.
So as you're wandering through this sort of crystal palace, mind palace space, you see, you rolled 3 successes, so you're not going to get in trouble, but you do see an image of Tamal in there. She's in uniform, and she notices you and does one of those Vulcan eyebrow raises.
Mhm.
And I think the implication is, I don't know that I don't internalize that you're here yet, but my subconscious senses it.
Mhm.
So now would be a good time to exit, unless you, or else you might get in trouble. Does that sound all right?
Sure. I'll exit.
Okay.
Oh.
Did that go how you needed to go?
That was great.
Okay.
But now I contributed to this being the last episode for blowing the budget.
Yeah, they're like, what are we gonna do with this set? Gonna do with this. You were called to the bridge. She says, thank you for that report. Commander, I've noticed some anomalous energy readings around the ship. Have you started to investigate this?
Yes, I've had engineering do diagnostics. They haven't found any issues yet.
Okay. Well, maybe maybe you and Derek can go down to engineering to continue the investigation.
Yes, sir.
That's how Vulcans give orders. Maybe you can. Okay. Victus, excuse me. Are you a Lieutenant Sidonis? Can you lay in a course for Deep Space 6? We are going to go pick up someone there.
Laying in a course, and yeah, let's do that. I imagine that's a navigation rule or some kind.
I'm sorry?
I said laying in a course, and then I asked you out of character. That's a navigation rule of some kind.
Yeah, I don't think you need to roll for that.
All right.
Everyone knows where Deep Space 6 is.
Oh, I was going to create another sonic boom.
And that's where we're going to go pick up your friend LaSalle. LaSalle? Like
LaSalle.
LaSalle. Ray, where are you going to go? What are you going to do while all this is going down?
Do I know why we're picking up LaSalle?
I think we decided that she needs transport from Deep Space Nine to wherever you're going next.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
was it a he or she? I'm sorry.
He.
Okay, sorry about that. He needs transport wherever you're going next. And maybe he's been doing some spying work on behalf of the Federation. So
we do like those spies.
Right. That's the whole shtick. So
I think speaking of spies, I think that's what I would like to do with this time is spend some time with our the other spy that we got back and kind of try and get a sense of everything that he learned while he was in with the Romulans.
Okay. Where's is that spy in his quarters now? Is he in sick bay? What do you think?
I guess my counter question is if he was one of the ones that was wounded, because he could be in sick bay, but
Yeah,
I was thinking he'd probably just be in his quarters.
And I also think he wasn't originally a Romulan. Obviously, he was modified to look like a Romulan, so he's probably getting unmodified.
That makes sense.
Now, so let's play that scene, and then we'll go down to engineering. Do you have a standard protocol for interrogating spies, or is there something in particular you wanted to know from this person?
Well, I'm probably not interrogating him unless
interviewing.
I was gonna say, like, how long was he in deep cover? Could he have turned?
Maybe that's what you need to find out.
Yeah. In which case, I think Ray's approach will start kind of friendly, like, oh, it's good to have you back. I know, going under undercover like that is, you never really feel comfortable. Like, you're always on edge, watching your back. I hope you'll be able to relax before whatever your next mission is.
I don't remember what I named him.
Don't remember.
I'm gonna call it Honduran. Honduran says, "I'll just be glad to get my old skin back. I miss being a human. Just say it was human." And
I
also
can understand that.
living among the Romulans is hard. They are this particular group was fairly relaxed, but generally speaking, they are very they're an empire, so they're very aggressive as a culture.
Stupid internet stopped working. Am I still here?
Yep.
Can you still hear me? Oh, great.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Excellent. Ray's like, no, yeah, I understand that. A long time ago, I infiltrated a small Cardassian base myself.
Oh wow! Did you have to?
Yeah, it was a whole process.
Oh my gosh!
Months of prep work.
You must have been traumatized by that.
Of all the things that happened during those years, that may have been one of the least traumatic.
Wow. So actually, what I think we're going to do is bring in these energy readings, or this kind of weird energy surges, and the med bed that he's lying on kind of gets a surge, kind of goes dark for a sec. Maybe one of the medical officers turns to look and try and figure out what's going on, and then it comes back on. But when you turn back to this person, who I'm going to just rename Frank, because I want to. Frank says, Frank has this slightly kind of glowy eyes that you notice, that we noticed from Idris Elba's character before and at the end of the last episode. And Frank says, I really want to get back to work. I want to go to my old job on the bridge. And he starts to push away, trying to get up from the med bay. And the medical officer is like, wait, we're not done with you yet. Ray, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of put a hand on it and be like, I'm not done with you yet either. I have questions about your mission.
And Frank says, I know, but I've got to go. And he pushes past the medical officer and starts to runs out of sickbay and starts to run down the corridor.
Oh, I'm going to give chase and kind of call an alert to the bridge.
Okay. And we'll pause there on that thread. Matthew, I was going to come to you unless you're okay. Flying to Deep Space 6, navigating to Deep Space 6 is complicated. Why do you think it's what makes it complicated to get to Deep Space 6? Is there a spatial anomaly in the way? Is there a lot of traffic? Do you have to go through enemy space? What do you think?
I think a spatial anomaly is near the vicinity of Deep Space 6. I'm not sure what you have in mind for Deep Space 6 or what's written for you, but let's say that it's been positioned to investigate it's been positioned in such a way that, it's been staffed in such a way to investigate neighboring anomalies. And
that's perfect. Love it.
Yeah, that requires the interceptor to sort of like move in a way that it doesn't attract the forces of that anomaly. I'm thinking something with an unusual gravitational situation. Yeah, and so, you know what it is? There are two anomalies that are fairly close to each other, and they're too big that you can't just go around them and loop into Deep Six. You have to go between them and sort of like figure out a way to not get pulled into the other.
Yeah, I got Suez Canal vibes going on. Like you don't want to rotate the ship in the wrong way. You'll totally get stuck in that.
I'm not. I'm actually thinking of that scene in Indiana Jones: The
I
Last
knew it.
Crusade.
Between the two gravitational forces, are you crazy?
Go between them. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Go between them.
I knew it. I knew it.
That's awesome.
I love the random bridge person. Hello, Jamie.
Have you Victus flown through here before, or is this your first time?
No, but I've seen someone do it before.
And what happened to that ship? Did they make
Oh,
it?
it did fine, but you know, you know what?
Oh,
You
no.
know what?
Oh, no.
What?
I think let's say that is how the career event required to take command happened.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that went south.
Yeah, that went south. Yeah.
And is that okay for someone from the northern hemisphere to say that? I just feel
I'm not
bad.
sure.
I got very self-conscious saying something went south.
I don't know. I can't speak for everybody here, but you know, no one of us in Southeast Asia thinks that's derogatory. I
Yeah.
think.
I'm sorry,
What are
you're
we
actually,
talking about?
you know, my wife's whole family is from South Africa, so maybe I'll ask them and not put you on the spot anymore. All right. That went badly. And so you, Victus, had to take over. Is that what happened? And did you fly the ship?
I had once the ship once everything went bad, you know, it made it through the anomaly in great damage, but without me, it wouldn't have been able to make the rest of the journey since our pilot was incapacitated.
Okay.
You know, typical sparks fly from the helm, and
Right.
now they have to fly because there are no seat belts on the bridge.
Out of my way, Will Wheaton. Yeah, I'm fine. So you are aware that you need to make some preparations for the ship in order to successfully navigate this. Do you have a favorite Star Trek technology trope that we can reference to prep your ship? What do we need to do? I've got a favorite, but I'm curious if
I'd like to hear it, but my brain just keeps saying an old Maquis trick.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I like how they can use the main deflector dish to do basically anything they need it to do. So I feel like you're using an old Maquis trick to reprogram the main deflector dish to allow you to navigate through. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Should we roll to see if you do this, or should we just assume you are able to do this programming?
I don't know. How does anyone feel about that?
Seems like a roll, because if it goes sideways, then it'll be interesting.
All right,
let's do it. I think the energy fluctuations are going to mess you all up anyway. So
yeah.
The Maquis, Danielle, were you actually asking what the Maquis?
Yeah, I was double checking.
The Maquis were sort of these freedom fighter types in Voyager.
Yeah, and Deep Space Nine, I believe.
Oh, it was Deep Space Nine.
They introduced the concept in Deep Space Nine, but they weren't part of the main cast members who were Maquis affiliated. Did not emerge until Voyager.
Can you just type it out so I can Google it? Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think the Voyager crew, some of them are former Maquis, like Chakotay was the head of the Maquis, and he became the first officer on Voyager because they had to band together.
Yeah, Voyager's mom and dad from two different cultures, that kind of thing.
This is why I can't watch all of Voyager, because that I can't handle that many episodes and nothing happening with them. I'm like, it'll ruin me emotionally. But thank you for the reminder. It spelled out, my brain was doing MAHKEE, kind of like a whole different situation.
Danielle, here's how you do it. It's a hangover watch. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew.
Like it's kind of deep cut on for Star Trek lore. All right, so let's see. I think this is I'm gonna say control and engineering.
All right.
Unless you want to make a case for a con. I can make a case for a con. What do you think?
Yeah, I think con makes more sense since I know the deflector dish is also operated from the helm, I think. So
Okay.
that makes sense to me. All right, and I'm rolling 2d20s.
Yeah, you're just trying to get one success. This is not hard.
And I'm going to invoke sometimes you need to push to get things done.
You don't have to invoke that until you want to re-roll.
Okay. Yeah.
So
my
roll,
brain was
and if you
thinking
do
of sorts.
poorly,
Yeah. I might be thinking about the other game I'm playing with you. All right, let's go.
that is some Michael level rolling right there.
Wow, that's what we're calling it now, Michael level rolling.
Hey, at
Hopefully
least
that
wasn't a
means-
20.
Hopefully that means I get to roll well today.
Yeah,
I've just passed it on.
you have passed it.
So I think we decided you can check a value, and that will let you re-roll one or more dice.
All right, so I guess we can say that we're hearing the vessel straining, and it's a matter question of whether to go gentle or to go hard. And sometimes you need to push to get things done, and we're rolling another d20. Am I right?
You can roll.
Or-
You can re-roll both of those. We decided.
Okay.
When you're doing
All
a
right.
re-roll.
Lord, thank you for that 12.
Yes. So wait, we decided control and con 16. Yeah, that missed. All right. Yeah, so you're successful. I think you kind of squeak this out.
Yeah.
The energy anomaly definitely messed with the controls while you were doing whatever you need to do. I'm kind of curious from your perspective, what did this look like? Was this the usual things just turn off, or did something else happen?
So here's what happened. So the anomaly caused strain on the system such that the calibration of the entire ship is now off during that journey. And in order to do so, I had to sort of like angle those controls harder or gentler on where they needed to be to finesse this journey. And so I shall invoke the classic Voyager line, attempting to compensate.
That is a really good trope. Yes.
Yeah. And there we go.
I also feel like maybe even in the console itself, instead of things blinking out, things just went haywire for a moment. Like lots of things flashed. Things were maybe appearing in a different language. New colors kind of came out of this thing. Like it looked completely wacky for a bit, and then reset. So it was sort of like, well, now it's back to normal. Does that sound all right?
The captain grips her chair arm just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I love where this is going. Okay, great. And let's go down to engineering now. You all are trying to investigate these energy readings. I don't think we've designated a chief engineer, have we?
No, I think I have the most engineering of anybody, actually, weirdly enough.
So the chief engineer will be a human named. Anyone got a good name for your chief engineer?
Probably like all I can think of are really cheesy sci-fi names like Rick Swift or something. Mandarin. Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
thinking with if it's Star Trek, it has to be something Scottish, probably like McHugh or something, or
I
McDonald,
love
or
that. I love that.
McEwen.
McEwen.
sure.
McEwen, I love it. So McEwen says, I'm not going to do a Scottish accent.
Oh,
All
so
right.
close. That's fine.
McEwen says, I can only do it when I'm doing dwarves from The Hobbit.
You can't do it. You can just imagine he's a dwarf.
That's not going to work.
That's fine. That's fine.
So McEwen says, we've been getting these strange energy readings all over the ship, and they're causing some disruptions, but not so much that it's causing a problem. Have you noticed anything on the ship, around the ship?
The captain did mention various reports. I'll like on my terminal pass the report log over of what various people have reported. It seems to be throughout the ship. I don't see a pattern.
I think
perhaps one of
Darren
you-
leans on a console and is like, the holodeck was talking strangely to us in a way it wasn't programmed. Kind of looks over at Randali and then adds that detail.
I'll have a Randali kind of blush, like, yes, I neglected in my haste to add that to the logs.
Yeah. I think he just nods and is like, things have definitely been strange all over the ship.
Well, McEwen says, well, I've got to get back to my duties. Commander Sidonis is asking me to do some reprogramming, help them with some reprogramming on the main deflector dish. So if you all want to do some investigation, please have at it.
Okay.
One of the things we think is, I think Jared is like, I'm not sure how mechanical it might be. And so I think his strategy is going to be wanting to kind of extend his senses into the circuits to see if he can pick up a signal of emotion, or something pulsing through, pull some kind of intelligences from that.
Oh, I love that. Okay, hang on. And Randali, what are you doing?
So I, as a player, have information that my character doesn't. And so perhaps I can do a roll to see if my character actually realizes there is a pattern, and that if you look at the timestamps and the locations of these various disruptions, you could draw a path through the ship, like it's a line.
Okay.
My character wouldn't know that.
So you're going to try and build. You're going to examine kind of where the disruptions have been.
Yeah, I'm going to look to see if there's a pattern. As a player, I know, but if I was a GMing this would be the thing that you discover, but my character doesn't know that.
Right. Perfect. Okay, that sounds great.
I think Darren wants to ping for intelligences, because when we were in the holodeck, something we both noticed was that there was actual vibe from the holodeck.
I don't know if Betazoids can assist Betazoids, but if that's a thing, I'd be assisting in that.
Awesome.
Let's each, you're each doing your task. So, Darren, I think you are using insight, and I'm going to say insight and engineering is kind of a weird combo, but
yeah,
suits what you're trying to do. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
All right, so
Awesome.
that's a 15.
15?
Yeah, you're trying to get one success on 2 dice.
On 2 dice. All right, let me just okay, so values are reroll and focuses are successes.
Extra successes, yeah.
Ooh, one of them.
Yeah, now do you feel like any of your focuses apply?
I mean, I have basic engineering down as a focus, and I have communication, so I guess either one of those.
Yeah,
it's not really basic engineering, I suppose, no. but I guess I'm thinking, when I was thinking of basic engineering, was ability to interface well enough to maybe inject some of my other insight through it.
Yeah, I like that. So that gives you 2 successes. So you've got 1 to play with. You can bank it, or we can use it to kind of give you some more information. What do you think?
I think let's use it. If I bank it, it gets banked as momentum.
That's right. That
Okay.
anyone can use.
Okay. Why don't yeah, I guess I can bank that 1 as momentum and then just like see. Well, nah, let's just get a bunch of information.
I was going to suggest that.
Yeah.
So tell me exactly what you were trying to feel for.
I think that Randali is being very like official and interacting with the engineering person on an engineering level and everything, and Darren is like, yeah, sure, go away. Because he just really wants to get in there and like get his hands. I think you see him put his hands on the console, like as if he was gonna type, except one of his hands is like on the circuits, and I think you see like one kind of like around his fingers some of those fun like puddle effects, almost like he's reaching into it a little bit, and he wants to kind of see if he can feel like pulsing through the circuits a like almost a kind of like a pattern like Randali is looking for, but a pattern of maybe thoughts or emotions. Like we're kind of seeing all the different signals, and are any grouped close enough, and like what sort of emotions is he picking up from them, or maybe some stray thoughts.
You definitely get the sense that there is intelligence, and you definitely get the sense that they are goofing off, like having fun. Like there's multiple intelligences, and they are having fun. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Randali, why don't we do your role? I think you're using reason, and I'll let you use science if you like.
Sure. Or I mean,
Could you put things
say again?
together?
Sure.
So that would be a 13. So you're trying to hit a 13 on 2 dice.
All right, here we go. Oh,
Beauty! Look at that.
Nice.
Do any of your focuses apply? This is a little harder to connect here.
I don't think so. I have parasitic, misspelled biology.
Oh, parasitic. Hey, parasitic.
I don't know if that applies,
I guess they don't
though.
have to be parasitic.
Exactly.
So you still have 2 successes
Or
to play with. Do you want to bank one of those, or do you want to use it for extra information?
Oh, let's do information.
So I think you get the feeling that the energy, the patterns are showing you that the energy signatures are trying to take over people on the ship. So they're not trying to take over systems on the ship. They're trying to reach different people, as we've already observed. And in fact, I think what happens, this just occurred to me, as you sort of are realizing this, you turn to look at Darren, and McEwen is standing right nearby. And McEwen turns to look at you, and he's got those glowing eyes. I think one of the things, Darren, that you have picked up on is one of the things that you've picked up on is they're having fun, and you get this kind of laughter vibe. McEwen starts laughing in the same way. I'm gonna maybe do Ray's fight scene, and then we will take a break. Does that sound all right? Go ahead, man.
At some point, I'd like to read the thoughts of this person while it's possessed. I don't know if the spotlight comes back to me or now is a good time.
Um, let's do the Ray's fight scene,
Okay.
and then we'll come
Yeah.
back to that. So Ray, you are chasing Frank down the hallway. Excuse me, down the corridor, and Frank has got the glowy eyes and is starting to giggle. What do you do?
Oh, Frank with the giggles. What rank is Frank?
I think he's a lieutenant.
Okay. The important thing is he's a lower rank than I am. Yeah, so just chasing after him, like, Lieutenant, stop.
Frank's not home anymore. Yeah, Frank keeps running, but maybe gets to a dead end, and the voiceover we hear that you don't hear but the audience hears is see what it's like to fight one of them. And Frank turns and puts up his fists. Does that sound all right?
Yeah. Yeah. Ray follows you. I was trying to remember if Bajorans have any like
Nerve
martial arts type things, but
in our show they do.
I was gonna say she strikes me as being more of a brawler anyway. Yeah, so Ray will put up her fists. She's like, Lieutenant, I don't what's we could talk about this. It doesn't have to go this way.
And Frank takes a swing at you, misses, hits the bulkhead, and it sort of cracks under his punch, like the energy is giving him greater strength.
Don't like that. I want to jab him in the kidney.
All right. I've never done fist fighting in this game, so I assume this is fitness and security.
That makes sense to me.
And maybe because Frank is kind of a bit of a freak now, we'll see it 2 successes.
Okay.
And maybe I don't know what bad things can happen to you. I haven't really been playing with stress, so I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, I just don't want to end up like the bulkhead. For focuses, I also have hand-to-hand combat.
Nice. Oh, perfect.
Quite possibly come in
I
handy.
did this on purpose.
All right, so it's 2d20, and I'm going for 16. I got a 6 and a 4. So
look at you.
Just the 2 successes. I just missed out on the focus.
Yeah. So tell me what this looks like, jabbing him in the kidney.
Oh yeah, she just Ray just goes right for like a hard hit to try and just incapacitate him. Like if it ruptures, like we have medics who can,
right,
including herself, so she knows exactly what she's going for, and just as soon as he kind of swings and exposes it, she just lands a solid blow square on his kidney.
Okay. And he kind of collapses, and maybe the energy leaves him. He's still giggling despite this. The energy leaves him and gets sucked into the bulkhead. And then it's just Frank there, and he's looking up at you, and he's like, how? Why did you hit me?
Why did you run?
I didn't, it wasn't me. There was something inside of me. Did we bring something back from that planet?
Oh, I hope not. Captain, come in.
This is Tamal. Go ahead.
We may have something on board.
Yes, we've detected energy signatures.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Can the signal come in from like Dured and Randall? It's like Captain, we're getting emotions coursing through the circuits. Whatever's here, it's having fun.
Do you think the ship is in danger?
Whatever it is just took a swing at me.
That's a little terrifying. Victus, here's my cliffhanger before the break. I think you are trying to perform these careful calculations, and the bridge suddenly becomes overrun with all of these people who have been possessed by the energy signature. So they all kind of, like, let's say, I don't know, 8 of them kind of push their way into the bridge while you're trying to navigate through this narrow passage. Does that sound all right?
Oh my God, no one sealed the decks.
I feel like that's the line before the commercial break. Victus is like, did no one seal the bridge off?
In my defense, I did call them and warn them.
My friends, I've got 9 past the hour. I've got 10 past the hour. Let's get back in 10 minutes. So 20 past the hour. See you in 10.
Encounter. This has to be a Zoom update. I have not heard that. That's exciting.
I don't recall like seeing an update patch, which creeps the shit out of me. But then I'm like, oh, Zoom is just installing updates without even checking out the be
Yeah, I was gonna say
automated.
I was on Zoom like multiple times throughout the day for work, which were all recorded meetings, and I did not see that message.
I wonder
Dan is a beta tester without knowing.
Perhaps the host software version is the one that isn't relevant.
The software police state.
Yeah, I don't even have an option that lets me turn that off.
I mean, it's for the better. It's just surprising that it's just there.
All right, so we are on the bridge.
Oh, I know what it is. It's the energy creature has gotten into the Zoom.
Yes. There are a lot of technologies I wish the energy creature would invent.
It's a good kind of corny, but now I'm dead.
Yeah. So we're working towards a big denouement here, with the bridge being infested, being taken over by these energy creatures who have taken over these people. Is this like a big, what are we thinking? Is this like a big violent confrontation to try and remove these creatures from these folks? I think there's also the tension of you're trying to navigate through this narrow passage in space, and maybe the energy creatures think it would be entertaining to see what would happen to steer the ship into one of these spatial anomalies. So I don't know, any other ideas of how things are going a little haywire?
I do.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Perhaps these people who are possessed are able to, interface with the consoles in a way, even from a distance. Like their energy is not confined to their body. It's like they want to touch a button, they just like touch it from a distance because their energy is like in their nimbus.
Okay. I like the idea that they can interface with the ship in unique ways. I mean, it's cool.
And I wonder if some of the and maybe Daedra's character could pick up on this, that maybe some of the malfunctions, if she's able to decode it, are like jokes.
Right, they're just kind of joshing with each other.
Like limericks. Like if we could, like, she's able, maybe her character could figure that out.
I like it. Matthew, did you have an idea? I'll just ask you while you're consuming liquid out of a can. You okay?
It was an unusually large piece of muffin that I should not have put so much of. and my
Oh,
tiny
wow.
asthma. No, but well, I think I have a plan on how to temporarily deal with the situation, which is, if you don't mind me initiating action already.
Well, I kind of want to hear if there are any other ideas for how things are gonna might go poorly.
Oh, so I did say somewhere in the chat that I hope something terrible is at the end of this of this journey, in the sense that when we arrive at Deep Six, like things have just
It's been
yeah.
deep sixed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been Deep Six. It's like,
All right.
it's arriving to a village, finding it in chaos. It's arriving to a space station and it's overrun by monsters. That kind
Right.
of thing.
I think similarly to how Frank was being engaged, or was trying to engage Ray and like, let's try and fight. I think it would make sense if, like, after frolicking around, they're trying to engage bridge members, like they're trying to like talk to them or dance with them, or just like really unsettlingly wrong social cues, like, no, I have to talk to you right now, kind of a thing.
I have an idea now based on what you just said. Maybe these creatures are these creatures have a connection with the space station and the space anomalies, and what they're doing is they're using the USS Interceptor to go home.
Okay.
And home is whatever experiments were conducted on Deep Six that gave birth to them.
Okay. I had a slightly different take on this because I had always imagined these energy things as children that were sort of taking the ship for a joyride.
Okay, maybe they're not. That it's not home. It's the promised land.
Well, the direction that I went after you said something was maybe they're actually trying to save the ship because Deep Space Six has been taken over by their parental, who are actually hostile aliens.
I like that a lot.
This is my Sylvester Stallone thumbs up.
Well, Sylvester Stallone approves. Michael, I didn't give you a chance to weigh in. Did you have any other ideas?
The only other thing that I was going to say, as far as like something bad that could happen, I was imagining like the bulk of the senior staff, including the captain, becoming possessed, because that would be no good for any of us.
Okay, I love this because I feel like, I mean, Victus is already on the bridge. The three of you are coming to the bridge now. Like we come back from commercial and the door opens up and the three of you are walking into the bridge. Maybe phasers at the ready because you've gotten word that there are hostiles on the bridge, and the camera sort of pulls back. One of you says "Captain," and she turns and she's got the glowing eyes. We okay with that?
I like having the Vulcan like start laughing and like
right. Oh yes. She's giggly. Oh,
yeah.
Creepy.
So in my previous, before we cut off, I was hoping my character could like read the McQuinn's mind. Maybe I could just skip to now and like read the mind of the captain. It'd be good to like read the mind of one of these creatures.
I like it. I'm wondering if we do that a little later when it's become clear like what they're trying to do, or they need to communicate with someone. Or if you want to do it now, we can.
This was more my character's idea of like, try to communicate before taking action, especially if it's violence.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like it. All right, so you're going to try and read someone's mind. Darren?
And then since I was recently in the captain's mind, it would make sense to like do that one. Especially because it'd be interesting.
All right, stand by.
Yeah. I think Jared is like a little giggly himself, even if he has his phaser out, because I think he's just affected by the general emotional tone feels really kind of like light and happy. And he's like, oh, it's so good to see you, loosening up and having a good time, Captain. I think he would want to one of my values is like listen to the stranger. So I can collaborate, like when an ally attempts a task using a discipline and you assist, they can use your focuses as well as their own. Oh, I guess mine might not be as well. Communications, that might be helpful for Randali. So I think Darrell would be doing a similar thing, kind of like reaching out and trying to like, not in an attack way, but in just a like, I want to know what's up. Like I'm willing to go on this journey with you as well.
Okay. Is your aim to try and understand their intent? Is your aim to try and calm them down, to establish a connection with them so you can communicate with them? What are you trying to do?
I think to establish a connection with them, and like he doesn't sense malice. So like if it's just as much as saying like, hey, now's not a great time to be playful. This is the wrong, like here are boundaries to set, if it's just that, or if it's or do they need something from us?
Okay, I love that. Okay, great. Michael, what is Ray doing?
I want to shoot people, but I probably won't.
No, maybe there's like one person that you've always had kind of a conflict with, like office politics.
Just take the opportunity to just
Right.
put them down. Yeah. I think I have to relieve the captain of duty.
Okay. What does that look like?
Well, I guess how many people are currently on the bridge that are not possessed?
So I can make this a real problem and just say victims.
I mean
Danielle,
that's.
did you have an idea?
Sorry, just to like hop in on what you're thinking. Because I think Jared might intervene slightly if he sees Ray try to tackle the captain, but I was wondering if maybe you could restrain her and he will try and like instead maybe meld and see if he can suck them out of her and into himself instead to get the captain back.
I like that idea.
Oh man.
I wasn't gonna go right into into restraining. I was going to like make an announcement. Just be like, Captain, there's something going on here. You're whatever it is, it's got you. You're unfit to command right now. I need you to stand down.
Okay. So you're going to try and restrain the captain so Darrell can mind meld with the captain.
Yeah.
Victus,
what are you doing?
So here's what I do. I will reach out to the Khan and initiate a protocol I have just for this occasion, which will which will activate inertial dampeners on. Activate inertial dampeners on the different people who have invaded the space, right? So the strain here isn't executing the protocol. The strain here is eyeballing everybody in the room and making sure each one is targeted properly. Okay. So that they will end up floating while Ray and Jared remain, feet planted on the ground.
Okay. Yeah, they never really explain how the artificial gravity works on Star Trek, but okay. So
if they're inertial dampeners, then I guess we can just say they're anti-gravity devices.
Yeah. So let's I don't feel like you need to. I guess the hard part is targeting certain people.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say I feel like this is control and engineering.
Yes, and I realized without even doing it on purpose that this will allow me to use the talent. Um, let's see. Fire at will. You are capable of tracking multiple targets and making attacks against them with great effect.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Or should it be? Or should it be multitasking, attempting to override tasks while at a bridge station, including utilizes your con discipline instead of discipline normally required for
I have
tasks.
no idea what any of those things mean.
Anyway,
I'll just say because of those things, you only need one success to make this happen.
sure. All right. And that's 8 of them, I believe.
We said control and engineering.
Sorry, I'm rolling now, but I meant there are 8 people on the bridge.
Yes, sorry about that.
Yeah. I got an 18 and a 14.
Neither of those work.
Can
And
we
you've used your value this session to re-roll. So I think you're done. What
You can't use another value in this session, right?
And it's once per mission check.
No problem.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
How about
Would evasive action, his focus, work in this situation?
no, because the focus is for only if you roll a 1, 2, or 3.
And you can't
Oh,
use
right.
momentum. Oh, do you have to decide momentum before rolling?
You know what we could do is we could make success at a cost.
Yeah.
So just to move things along,
maybe I forgot to target myself?
I think you had to, in order to do this, you had to take your hands off the con. And so now one of the possessed crew members has kind of pushed their way and is now in control of the ship.
No problem.
Does that sound all right?
That sounds all right.
A reasonable cost.
It is a reasonable cost.
I mean, they're kind of they're floating, but they're still kind of like tapping away at the console, or to Mander's point, they're sort of able to interact with the console without even really touching it. So,
Sure.
but now we've got the captain off balance. So, Ray, what are you going to do to try and restrain her?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming that obviously the thing within her doesn't actually willingly relinquish command. So
No.
I guess I'm going to apologize and like grab her.
I think we're doing fitness and security again.
I think so. Oops. Hopefully I don't get court-martialed. 11
That's
and
one success.
18, so 1 success.
Yeah. What does this look like? You've grabbed her. How does restraining work? Are you trying to secure her to the chair, captain's chair? Or are you trying to just simply hold her in a restrained way?
In a restrained way, not in the chair, because there's like buttons on the side and stuff, and yeah, I don't want her touching any of that stuff.
And I feel like you've done it in a way that allows Darren to do the nerve pinch.
Yeah, I'm thinking I've got her like by the shoulders, like from behind. So Darren can do the Vulcan face stuff.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, Darren's Betazoid, so he can do the Betazoid face stuff.
I've been saying nerve pinch, but Danielle, are you doing the nerve pinch or are you doing the mind meld?
I was thinking of the mind meld to to encourage, to create a bridge to create some kind of psychic bridge to encourage this to hop over.
So you want the being to come to you? Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think he sees her like that and is like, well, we need her more than me right now, and maybe I can like contain it better psychically, or he probably is volunteering to do this without thinking all of that through.
So I don't think you need to roll for this. What does it
Oh,
feel
really?
like when the creature, when the energy creature comes into you, comes into your mind?
I think that after Ray successfully has her, I think Darren like murmurs an apology, like, I'm so sorry about this, Captain, because I think this is like pretty intimate. Like, you would never do this normally. Probably hasn't done this with the captain before, but knows exactly how to exactly like I'm so sorry, in the very, very classic way, and puts his hands there and kind of establishes the link. And I think he kind of feels slightly flooded with light. I think he sort of extends a welcoming presence and is like, why don't we come on and talk? This is a much, this will be a much calmer space, and extends that, and it kind of feels flooded with light and like a sensation of being outside on a grassy field. Probably you probably get a shot of seeing him standing on a grassy field with a beautiful blue sky. Like, he doesn't feel like he's in his body right now.
Well, and then a child appears next to him, like in this vision. And maybe it's sort of an alien looking child, or you never really get to see its face, but it's you sort of have, the audience had this perception that you two are now kind of sharing this moment. Does that sound, is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Does it take work for you to sort of maintain some control? So I have two ideas. One, it takes work for you to maintain some control. Two, what was my other idea? The being has never been in a telepath or an empath before, and that kind of messes with it a little bit.
I kind of like the second one, because I don't think he has a sense. Like I think even though it came technically into him, mentally it feels like he is somewhere else. Like, it sort of almost puts your consciousness in a different space. So yeah, I don't even think that, but I think that he's thinking like, as long as he can talk to it and keep it calm, it's not gonna like run around with his body. So like, it being like, oh, you're here too, instead of being like in a space where there isn't somebody.
But this is a child that is a troublemaker. Now it's got some new powers at its disposal.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I like that.
So it's starting to run around the toy store and break things, maybe.
Okay.
Which changes what I was imagining the ending to be. So I like where this is going. But Mander, we need to come to Rondali. Rondali, you're trying to telepathically communicate. Was it with the captain?
That was the plan, but maybe it's changed since the captain's no longer has the thing in it.
Is it Idris Elba? I mean, we've got him for one more episode. We might as well.
Already on contract, sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna find a picture so you know who we're talking about.
Sure.
What is this? I guess you've already made contact with someone, but this was just with the Vulcan. How do you approach the bartender, who is, I think, the one who's trying to grab the con away and control the ship?
I thought I'd try to read the thoughts. Like, that was my initial plan.
What does that look like? What is that? How does that work? Do you have to approach them? Do you have to Are you just concentrating on them?
I think I'll just be like furrowing my eyebrows with a close-up shot. Maybe some cheesy overlay.
Okay. I think I don't want to waste time doing rules. You are now sort of present in the mind space of this energy being that is childlike. So you did such a good job of describing the mind space of a Vulcan. What is the mind space of a child, or I guess of an energy being look like?
Oh, sure. I guess how I imagine it on screen is,
Yes.
Again, 1990s, they had this show that had a lot of green goo on the kids network. I'm imagining a lot of like kind of like that slurping glue, but it's like glowing blue and whatnot. And the mind is basically like a funhouse factory with all this kind of glue stuff that kind of that there's a particular, it looks like there's this energy being that's told its own energy being, but it's like knocking things over, pushing things, powering things are going splat and splatter cartoonishly.
Yeah, and this, I love that. And this is like completely novel. Like you've been in a lot of brains or a lot of minds, and this is completely different. And maybe as they mature, what's gooey and slimy would solidify into something a little bit more responsible, I guess. So my question is, what question are you trying to answer by coming into this person's mind?
What do you want?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think just as you are getting this, I'm going to bring us to a little bit of a close, and then we'll do epilogues. Does that sound okay with everybody? So just as you are like getting this message, Dared's possession, the creature in Dared, uses the telepathic abilities to basically prevent anyone else from taking any action, and directs the ship to go into the spatial anomaly. And the message that you are getting in that moment, Rondali, is to save you. And I think at that point we sort of cut to commercial break. But I will take a moment. And Rondali, what is your reaction when you hear to save you?
Is this a joke? Are you joking? Like both literally and figuratively, like, are you playing a prank? Or like for real, we're going into the anomaly that every ship tries to avoid.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like your first instinct is this can't be real. But even though they've been sort of jokey, things are getting more and more serious as you got closer to Deep Space 6. So you get the feeling that they're very sincere. Victus, you took your hands off the con, but maybe you've got some inkling as to why they're directing you towards the anomaly. Do you have any idea, any suggestions for what is it that Victus notices that says, oh, I see what they're trying to do here?
They said that the creature said that they're trying to save us from something, right?
Right.
Is there anything else that is on the ship? Because I am thinking that maybe by bringing us into the anomaly, the energies of the anomaly field will reveal and also cleanse the interceptor of another presence that we did not know, that we could not register on our sensors, and is made only visible by the forcible, journey created by these.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe you had detected something at Deep Space 6, but I like the idea that maybe something from Deep Space 6 had sort of latched on to your ship, and that's what got these other beings frightened. Does that sound okay to you? Okay, And Michael, I think the captain has sort of come to, right, as Darrett has drawn the alien out of her. What does this moment between you and the captain look like?
Boy.
Is this awkward? Is this a long time coming? This intimate moment? Is this what does the captain sense that maybe all is lost and confesses something to you even as a Vulcan? What do you think?
I actually really dig the idea that it's something that's been a long time coming, but like neither of them have ever acted on it or expressed before. I mean part of that would come down to like the fact that one is like there is the rank aspect, but then like more than that, it's the captain is a Vulcan and they're not supposed to express emotion. And then Ray, is, at least tries to be tough and also doesn't, express vulnerability.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Ray just kind of being like, I was afraid we were gonna lose you.
And the captain says, we or you were afraid?
Me.
And on that moment, like we all know what's happening. So, but now we are now in, is that okay, Michael?
Absolutely.
Cut away at that point. So now we're in Darred's head. Darred, you and the child are talking. What does the child say to Darred? Or what does Darred ask the child?
How much of so the sense to save you, that's something that he would have heard as well, right?
Yeah, I think that's the vibe like that you're getting from all the kids. And um you are feeling maybe some of your control slipping, if that's okay with you as a player. And this energy being is now sort of taking advantage of your powers.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's with the even in the field, he's kind of like wincing and grabbing his head. He's like, it's fun to play with others, but you really should ask first. He's like, and I think he gets down on their level and he's like, tell me, he's like, thank you for saving us. Is there some way we can make sure that you're safe too? Do we know when playtime is we want to make sure that we're all safe. But I can't do that when when you've grabbed control. Like, I think he's kind of like, can you hand the controls back to the adults?
Right.
But like, I want to make sure that playtime keeps happening.
Now, for the first time, the audience sees this being's face. It sort of turns towards the camera, like now, but sort of turning towards Darred, but we see the being's face. I'm picturing made of pure, sort of blue glowing energy. Maybe a hint of facial features behind it. And it just says, I'm thinking it just says something as simple as hush. Like trying to work here or something like that. Like
okay. All right, kid.
Or if you make too much noise, we'll let our parents know that we're here.
Okay.
So
if it communicates a kind of like, it'll let our parents know, I think he would just kind of like nod and mime like,
right.
Okay, I'm being quiet. while just kind of sitting down and kind of like trying to hang on to his sanity in some sense.
So I think we do one of those cuts where now we just see Interceptor kind of flying through space. Everything seems back to normal, and we get kind of the Picard voiceover narration kind of describing the aftermath of what happened. We hear that a rogue energy creature had come aboard the ship at the last minute, and that the energy children were trying to clear that off. Part of the voiceover is what had happened at Deep Space Six. Matthew, do you want to give us that part of the voiceover? What did they discover was going on Deep Space Six that this energy, this rogue hostile energy creature had been doing? That
I'm not sure yet. I feel like the other pieces of the story have to come together for me to decide and figure out what happened to Deep Six, unless someone can volunteer something.
Yeah, does Mander, do you have an idea?
Perhaps the sort of whether dilithium or other energy production technology was basically polluting the space, and the parents did some eco-terrorism and just like removed all power sources. Like our little consoles shorted out, the whole thing, including life support, went goodbye because they turned off the pollution.
So they killed all the crew on Deep Space Six.
Or if the writers thought there was another season, life support's out and the clock is ticking.
Okay. All right. I like that. Danielle, what drew the creature to Interceptor?
Well, I think the parents were doing this because they're like, this is pollution, this is bad. And I think this was really boring for the kids. They're like, no, all the fun went away. You're making all the people stop moving and saying things. And so it just kind of like, they just sort of reached out to the closest moving target that was alive and doing stuff and kind of hopped aboard. Like you said, kind of like a joyride. This was like their runaway from home moment.
Nice. That's great. Michael, I'm trying to think what else can be in the voiceover. Do you have any other, like, by way of sort of exposition as to what happened? Do you have any ideas?
The only thing that I was thinking about it was in regards to LaSalle. Because we've like our whole thing is dealing with spies and espionage, I liked the idea that what happened on Deep Six was his fall.
That's so good. Like he was a double agent.
Yeah. And then the whole next episode like would be a whole thing with like, we went through so much together and you just betrayed the Federation.
Yeah, maybe the voiceover is the captain saying something like, having rid Deep Space Six of the hostile energy creature, we treated the crew only to find that the person we were supposed to pick up, LaSalle, was not present and had left shortly before all the anomalies happened, or something like that. Like,
yeah.
I love that. That's a great idea. Why can't we play more?
I mean, we can.
Well, Dan is tired. We could. Matthew, anything you want to add? And then we'll do epilogues for our characters. I'm tired. Matthew, do you want to add anything to the kind of aftermath voiceover?
I know. I think everyone covered bases, but what I do think about also is like, what is the fate? Well, not fate, because their stories aren't over, but rather what kind of epilogues the individual characters of this cast have.
Yeah.
It's not closer. It's just like last scenes for the episode.
Yeah, let's do it. Does anyone have any ideas as to what happens to anyone want to go first as to sort of what happens to their character?
So is this like an epilogue, or is this like kind of the last talky scene in the episode,
We
or
could do it like
both?
I was thinking characters, since we're not playing after this, we're don't have plans to
Yeah.
play after this. Maybe what happens to your character sort of later in their career.
Well,
And if you want to do something sooner, we can do that.
yeah, my only tag on to the end of it, I think, is after the voiceover, seeing I think Darren is walking into the bar, probably like with Randali, like clearly like maybe probably with everybody. I think you know, like clearly still recovering, and it's like, you know, they were good little kids, you know, troublesome but fun. And I think he adds, but you know, sometimes it's good to lighten up, and kind of gives, I think, probably Ray a really pointed look, and smiles and like orders around for everybody.
Nice. I love that. That's great. Mike, what do you think for Ray?
Or like how far in the future are we thinking?
Whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have to think of something
Yeah.
like what happens in the future. Ray's got a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can have
it's-
an immediate thing if you want some time to think about it.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I'd say that Victus is on the holodeck again, engaged in another one of his Clancy-esque, 24-esque scenarios, and it's a tight moment where he and another character, played by Richard Madden, are taking cover behind the barrels in like a dark, gloomy warehouse, and the operation proceeds as it should. We get the terrorists, we find the codes, that kind of stuff, right? And as the episode sort of freezes to its natural stopping point, because there are no end credits or fade to black in the holodeck. Sort of like Victus reaches his hand out to sort of like hold I guess some kind of remote device to shut down the holodeck, and when he does, a spark courses through his hand that's similar to the electricity that is the nimbus that connected the aliens, and it leaps from his hand and strikes the Richard Madden character. And when it does, the simulation ends and the Madden character remains. And the Madden character looks at Sidonis and just sort of smiles with his childlike smile.
Nice.
That.
So wait, was the other character like a hologram?
Yeah, it's a hologram.
Nice.
And the implication being that maybe one of the childlike species has been like, hey, I'm a new crew member.
I am here now. That is awesome. Mander, any thoughts on epilogues or final scenes or anything like that?
And sorry, last one.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Madden is the wrong color grade for the show. He's like 24 orange and black kind of thing, and
nice.
He's got the Star Trek aesthetic. Yeah.
And Mander, before you do a long-term one, I have basically the only thing I could think of Jared for in the future is I think a conversation he wanted to have with Randali, if that, before you springboard onto like what she wants to do, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that as they're buying rounds, as everybody's like celebrating and relieved that we're not dead once again, I think he brings over like a big fruity cocktail and sets it in front of Randali and is like, I know that I make a lot of fun of, protocol first and all, but I was really glad that I wasn't the only telepath or empath on the bridge. That may have been unwise to deep in, and it got a little scary in there, but here's to better collaboration in the future. And I think he'll
Clink.
toast.
Nice.
Yeah. These space aliens, they saved our hide.
Yeah, but whew, man, I guess if they hadn't been well-meaning, it could have gone really poorly. So I think that what he's kind of communicating is like, yeah, he's still excited to be here and to kind of go on missions and wants to kind of like take cues from Randolph more and kind of like work more together as we're like throwing ourselves at psychic foes is I think what his intent is.
Nice.
Ghostbusters.
Commander, any thoughts for Randali's epilogue?
I kind of a darker one. That kind of springboarding after like, oh, like these like the children here like saved our hides. Imagine like getting like Starfleet like Rear Admiral sending a coded message saying these adults are dangerous. They've shown that they can eliminate entire space stations. You need to find a way. You need to find their weaknesses. We need to be able to exterminate them. The children are playful, but the adults are serious threats.
Nice.
And this kind of like, you know, my character like wanted to like, you know, subjugate Starfleet protocol to like help other races, now is being asked to like destroy other races, and that being like a difficult decision there. And then off screen, maybe there's like a Kickstarter or a writing campaign that doesn't quite make our show continue.
Right. I have lost track of who has done epilogues and who has not. Is there anyone who has anything you want to add? Michael?
Yeah, I still have one. I think the immediate one, I was imagining Ray with the captain, but I'm not sure exactly what it would be, because I, as a cynic, don't know if their relationship would work, but I want it to. And then the longer term one, what I had in mind was a callback to the first scene, where Ray is the captain of her own ship and is in a similar situation that we were with the submarines in the holodeck, with like trying to stop some kind of like doomsday ship, essentially. That's
great. That's awesome. Hey, Victus, you'll never guess where I am right now. Yeah. Friends, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. I have a tendency to go off the rails at the end of my games, and that was actually pretty on rail, relatively speaking. So thank you for that. I would love to chat just about what worked and what didn't work here. I'm always looking for feedback as a GM, just what can I do better? So let's talk a little bit about that. So not stars and wishes per se, but stars and wishes, sort of. Also, I know this was maybe the first month-long campaign that maybe some of you have done on the Gauntlet. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to do that. So we'll do the go around the table thing, stars, wishes, and questions. Matthew, can I start with you?
Stars and wishes. Well, I had a good time with all the pieces that have been juggling in this episode, and it was really cool the way you sort of like partition them off into different characters. It's very one is very classic Trek wise, but number two, it really makes everybody feel like a little special in how they have something to do that is sort of like tailor made for them. And I really enjoyed your willingness to go with all the ideas that were, kicked up by, Mander, Danielle, Michael, me, all of us, I guess. I was trying to enumerate, and then I realized no, that everybody came up with stuff.
Everybody had ideas. They were all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. As for is it Roses and Thorns, Stars and Wishes?
I still do stars and wishes, but maybe the wishes are kind of longer term, like, or things you would like to do differently, things you think I could be doing differently as a GM.
I mean, wishes are just to keep this show going, or at least like maybe I don't know, get a season 2 in like August or September or something.
That's good.
But we'll see. But we'll see. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Mander?
You did a great job. Thank you very much. I had fun. I guess things you could have done better. You didn't change your background this time.
Sorry, I have to look at this shithole.
It's okay. I know you're in the holodeck.
Yeah, really.
I like
It's the
how you
most
look
realistic
behind-
Zoom background.
This is what the office of a middle-aged man looks like in the 21st century. So
Whoa, that's realistic.
that's what we were trying to create here. Yeah.
I like how you look back to verify that it's there.
It's the extent of my acting ability right there.
Oh, I guess the other thing that comes to mind is character generation took an entire hunk of time. And I think just like if you had some pre-gens in terms of, do you want to be the doctor? Do you want to be the engineer? Do you want to be like it's just like pick, because I would have been happy to skip my skill points because I'm more about narrative anyway, not trying to like tweak it just right. I did like, however, the like random roll on the table to find out what your like back history was, to like help start fleshing out what your character's background is. I like that part of the character creation. But if it was this pre-gens plus that, then
That's a great.
I'd be happy. I'm playing a much simpler game called For the Dungeon, where you just have a few stats, and it works surprisingly well just to like eliminate a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, I love life path character creation techniques. I just think it's cool.
Yeah,
like
I like that part.
These games are really uneven. Like sometimes you're just picking like 3 things and going, and sometimes it's a whole session that it takes to make characters.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. Like with this one, a lot of the numbers don't really matter all that much. So
Right, and
I have a suggestion. Sorry.
I might feel differently if we were going to be like, we're going to do a campaign.
right.
It's going to go on for months and years. Like, let's take the time and make your character. Okay, but nah. So go ahead, Matthew, please.
Mander, I think Mander is saying 2 things. What he's saying is he wants to play a really long game.
Yeah.
That goes on for years.
We put the
with a
effort into our
with a
character.
customized character, or a really short game wherein like the sheet is just handed to him with the numbers just ready to be filled. And those are understandable sentiments.
I do like what he was saying about pre-gen, in that like even just having suggested builds, like, okay, if you want to be the doctor, I recommend these numbers in your command and etc. Because I think some of those, well, I mean, I really enjoyed digging in and like, because like for me, that's how I learn it. And then at the end of these sessions, I'm like, now I know how I would tilt things, but like with vague terms like command, it's like, does that mean literally giving a command, or does that mean being a leader? Or
my partner and I were talking about this with game design actually, is that like, I even though we favor narrative systems or systems with less crunch, there is a certain appeal to these kinds of things where you get to stat everything out to such an incredibly granular detail.
Right.
But at the same time, when you just want to focus on something, it might be helpful for those things to either, like for those variables to either not exist, or for them to just be sort of like pre-filled for you. So when I think about what people are saying about pre-gens, I think maybe something like where half the values are filled but the other values are still just like, well, like,
Yeah.
all right, we your doctor stat is maxed, but feel free to customize how good they are as an engineer and how good they are as a as a commander or a pilot and everything like that. And maybe a selection of backgrounds that are just like more relevant. Like for example, if I took a background in my backstory that highlighted his medical skill, I'd be like, unless I was really explicitly sort of like going for a dual, narrative kind of thing, it feels like superfluous to do that.
I think the time consuming part in life path is sort of equating what choice did I make in the life path to how does that affect the mechanics? And I almost feel like it would be cool to just make a bunch of choices in the life path and then just say you've got 10 points to distribute among your stats, and then we move on with our lives.
Yeah.
So, Mander, that's great feedback. I appreciate that. I do want to run this again because I really, really like playing the Star Trek world, but I like your idea of trying to make it make character gen more efficient too.
Yeah. One of the things that maybe would be good is like, there's going to be 4 players. Just make it, if you did pre-gens, just distribute the skills so that there's not duplicates. Like we all were pretty bad at engineering, for example. And we had duplicates though on some other skills like daring and whatnot, which is not bad, but I think we had too much focus or overlap and not in others. And that's not mechanically that operates one way, but also narratively, it makes it so each character is kind of less special. They have, like with Dungeons and Dragons and other systems, they have niches. And basically, if you had niche pre-gens, is what I'm suggesting.
I really liked our characters, and I was
100%.
Yeah. With the Tenorate set, even with some of the overlaps, because I think that sort of made for some interesting tensions too. So.
I have two last things to say to speak to to share with Mander and Danielle about their remarks is that one, I think when I do GM, which is fairly rare, when I do and I want to do pre-gens, I just go like, all right, there are 4 players. I'll make 8 or 9 pre-gens that are substantially distinct, but also it means I still can't like 100% predict or anticipate what the combination is going to be. And they still have a freedom to define their party. Freedom to define their group however they see fit. And number 2, I think I want to see Dan run once more into the void. That's what I want to see. And maybe Mander might call him to like
fun.
Yeah. Might be more interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that sounds like
I don't know what that is.
That sounds like a shameless plug for my partner's game
on
Kickstarter, but
yeah,
I was talking to Jeremy. I was like, man, I'd love to see Dan run once more to the way.
What? So very quickly, it's a what's that system called? It's like a
Firebrands.
What is it? Firebrands system. So it's a bunch of mini games, is what that means. And the premise is you're like the crew of a spaceship, and you've come together for one last mission. Sort of the premise.
It's kind of more when I was reading, is it more story game like, kind of like a dialect or something, where it's like each frame you're all mutually narrating, kind of like each story or each chapter has a theme, and then you're all kind of like playing that chapter.
Yeah.
It sounded really cool. Like being in this game made me go, yes, I need that other game because I want to keep doing this kind of space adventure.
I personally haven't played Once More Into the Void, despite my partner making it, but I played their previous game, Take My Revolution, which is based on Revolutionary Girl Utena, and it uses a similar set of mechanics. And yeah, that's been super enjoyable, the way you sort of like get really intimate with another player and build a story beat together.
So I'm going to move on from Matthew and Mander. Thank you for your reflections. I would like to come to the other half of our player group. So Danielle, stars, wishes, questions, thoughts, reflections. What do you got?
Yeah, I think stars to everybody. Star to Michael for. I loved how like we got to even see Ray develop through her confrontation and like the the punches, and then the restraining the captain and like rolling with like, yeah, let's make this coming. It felt like it felt organic and natural, and I really loved seeing that, and getting a hint of how she'll develop in the future. Yeah, so just kind of like imbuing every moment with a lot of character. And Matthew for all those great like ideas, like when you're talking about like Deep Six and what's happening when we get there, and like my mind was just blown. And like having Victus accidentally stumble on the like leftover child being in the holodeck and zapping into real life. I loved it so much.
Star Trek. So Star Trek. That's
yeah.
So
yeah. I do want to say that this is absolutely a Ray special episode, by the way.
yeah. And Mander, how Randalia was like formal and yet really like driving to kind of like read the minds and everything. I know even though our characters had a lot of the similar like skill sets, I feel like they felt really distinct, and I really appreciated the contrast. And so I hope that she got to do like a lot of that. I think she probably comes out better than Tara does on paper. I think she has like a higher rank for a reason. I always felt like she was very competent and very good at like her job, and I really loved that sense. And I think you played with that really well. So yeah, and no, Dan, thanks so much for like incorporating the ideas, and I appreciated like the moments where it's kind of like, okay, so out of character, this is kind of the direction that it's going, but also like these are inputs that I'm folding in. So I didn't feel like shocked by anything in a weird way, or like, oh, like I felt like it made it a more collaborative effort, but not in a way that like ruined the fiction. And if anything, having that information, I think helped us craft those narrative moments. Like, okay, I know that this is the direction that it's going, so I can just like take it in that
lean into that, right?
Yeah, and it felt, because it was coming from you, it didn't feel like, one player had an idea and it just sort of ran away with the session. We knew all collaboratively what beats to hit, and I thought that was cool.
Great, good. I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I run games any other way these days. So.
I just want to add also that I think what everything that Danielle is saying reminds me that Dan is always in my experience, has always been a very supportive GM. You know what I mean? Like, like you have said repeatedly throughout the session about how you had an idea this way or that way, but there's never a trace of resentment or like dismay in your voice. And then whenever something comes up, like there's a lot of like, support from you that, I really, really appreciate, and, puts you in among the gauntlet, like on my top tier of the GMs I've played with so far.
That means so much to me, Matthew. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. I just want everyone to have fun. Like that's like we're none of us getting paid for this, so we might as well get something good out of it, So, thank you, Danielle, for those thoughts. I appreciate it. Michael, last but not least.
All right. Yeah, real quick, before I get into the stars and wishes and just gushing over everybody, I want to talk about the system real quick.
Oh yeah,
I really liked it. It definitely felt very Star Trek. Going back to the life path thing, I love life paths. I think that the way that this system does it is bad in the way that it's laid out, because like you have like disciplines and values and talents and focus, and like as you go through your life path, it isn't like you solidify one of those things. Like you keep bouncing back and forth, and you don't really have context for what any of them are.
Right.
So like part of my like recommendation would be in the like maybe in the keeper to have like a glossary of what each of the things is. Like, values are your character's drives, beliefs, personality traits. Great. Talents are more their special abilities. Great. And like, disciplines are, your areas within like your role on the ship. And just have that to refer back to, because like once you know what the things are, like the words are distinct enough, but when you're looking at it, you're like, okay, talents,
Why do I care?
focus, discipline, these all sound like the exact same thing.
Right. Yes.
Um,
Completely agree. Basically,
but-
what I want is a Powered by the Apocalypse Star Trek game. That's all I want.
yeah, I mean, like, mechanically, I like this, and I mean that was something that we said earlier. Like there is still an appeal to this,
Right.
like crunchier style, which I really like. And I felt like it captured the feeling of Star Trek really well.
Yeah.
Definitely more so than I was expecting. And I think that's, also down to us as players.
Is that,
Um,
can I ask out of
yeah.
curiosity, is that because of we spent most time looking at the attributes and the discipline, but we did have some of the life path decisions that we made were, kind of were peppered with those elements as well. But I'm curious what in particular made the system feel very evocative of Star Trek.
I think it was in part, I liked the sort of like attribute and skill setup,
Yeah.
where like the skill is related to, what your actual focus is. I thought that was great. I like the way that like the values and focuses come into it, where it's like this is a thing that your character feels about this, so that affects how you act. Like when we had Randali, be like, rules are just guidelines. I'm going to read the captain's mind. Like
Right.
that was great.
Yeah, that was great.
And even like getting into some of the background stuff, like this session with Matthew bringing his character's background into it, with like, oh, this is totally related to that, that event from my past.
Right.
There's a lot of that stuff that just kind of works, and it, the mechanics encourage that kind of fiction.
Yeah.
Which is also what you get with like Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Right.
But it definitely feels more structured. Like if I was thinking of this as a PBTA game, I would just be looking at my basic moves and then see which cool playbook moves I could do, because I just go straight to kind of moves. Whereas this, I feel like the pairing of your skill and your discipline make it really interesting and make you just think about what you want to narratively accomplish.
Right.
Outside of the framework of really strong, like, I just want to hit this really hard over and over.
Yeah, those are great thoughts, actually. I want to, like, Danielle, when you're talking about the PBTA state comparison, I think if you did it PBTA style, it's going to be weird, because PBTA is based on the idea of basic moves and sort of like what I would call signature moves, meaning move signature to the playbook. And Star Trek characters aren't known for having signature moves necessarily.
Right.
They all tend to kind of do the same thing. And that's why the system, as Michael highlighted, is very appreciative of that, in that you can mix and match the attributes and the man, I already forgot what it's called, the foci, I guess, or something. And so that, each one represents a different problem, and the other one represents the angle by which you attack the problem. So let's say I'm controlling the helm, that's the problem. The problem is, how do I address helm? And maybe I'm going to approach it with finesse, with logic, with daring, or with presence. Like those things, sort of like, and that's what a lot of Star Trek is. It's facing the same kind of technical challenges, or diplomatic challenges, or military challenges over and over again, but each character deciding how they're going to approach it in accordance with their personality, informed by their backgrounds and life paths. And that's, I think, what makes everything come together and make this game feel like it can represent Star Trek in a way that, a more narrative system might not necessarily be able to, with fewer parts.
Yeah. Michael, you were in the middle of your stars, wishes, and thoughts and questions and things. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, the last thing I was gonna say on that subject was I'm about to play Last Fleet in a week or two, and one of the things that does is it like separates, which it's a PBTA game, but it separates like your playbook from your role on the ship in a way that I think is interesting, which I could see working with a Star Trek thing as well, where it's like maybe your playbook is more related to your species or background, like, former Borg or Bajoran or Betazoid or whatever, and you have abilities around that. But
Maquis
regardless,
insurgent.
That's a good idea.
I want to give stars to everybody. This was amazing. Particularly this session, for some call outs. Danielle's moments with Darryd choosing to absorb the being was great. Matthew for all of the obstacles with getting to Deep Six, and then what had happened there was all amazing. And Mander with Randali's use of telepathy was amazing. Danielle had already said this, but I really liked how different the two telepathic characters were. Because you always kind of worry about, like, oh, if they're kind of have some of the same abilities, like, will they stand out from each other? And they absolutely did, and it was fantastic. And the last thing that I want to say to Dan was this was great. I haven't played much on the Gauntlet, but I echo Matthew that you have jumped up to favorite GMs list. And just echoing what Danielle said, I really liked the degree to which this felt collaborative, like, especially coming from more PBTA games. It's fair. They get into the kind of questions about, like, the player describes this,
Right.
but the way that you framed it as, like, here's what I was thinking, but I'm curious what you all think. Like, normally, in my experience, the GM opens it up for like the players to give input, but doesn't say what they had in mind. And that, like, made it feel really collaborative in a different way that I'm used to. And I really, really enjoyed.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I mean, it really does mean a lot to me. Matthew, I do feel like I'm constantly playing these games wrong. So let's just friends, we have come to the end, unless anyone has any final thoughts or questions or concerns.
Oh, I think just another shout out to Mander. I think the player, like, the constant twists that you were coming up with, like, things not darker, but like the twist at the end about, like, obliterating the aliens, and, like, all, I thought that and, like, the spy stuff, which I thought was very distinct from the character you were playing, but I thought added a great twist to what we were doing as well.
It's my GM brain.
And I'm sorry we did not deal with your moss sample, but you know what? There's a whole other season.
I know, that's less pressure, Dan, to run this again. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, friends, I would love to post this recording with warts and all, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
All right, great. And I think we're done. It was nice playing with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Definitely reach out to me on the Slack if you have any more questions or thoughts or anything.
Live long and prosper. Happy. Don't panic. Holiday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.